Hello, everybody, and welcome to Nicaragua as Liga Primera continues. Tonight it is El Clásico Nacional as we welcome you to Esteli, Nicaragua, and the Estadio Independencia. Tonight it is Diriangén, the Cacique, as the visiting team taking on Real Esteli, the Train of the North, as they host the Cacique against El Tren del Norte. I am Ben Wilson, joined by James Poovey, as the two most historic clubs in Nicaraguan soccer meet for the second time in just a few days. It's part of three matches in the course of a week that these two teams are squaring off against each other. It is kind of a unique scheduling quirk, but one that has seen the League Cup take place, resuming on Wednesday. That was the League Cup from back in the 2019-20 season that was postponed due to the COVID pandemic, pushed back into 2020, resulting in sort of a chaotic stretch of matches, but one that saw Esteli take on Diriangén, first of the two-legged tie in the quarterfinals on Wednesday in this venue at the Estadio Independencia. That match won by a 1-0 score by Esteli, and now the two facing off here just a few nights later. James, you were on the call for that match Wednesday, as I mentioned, certainly a unique circumstance in El Clásico Nacional. What are you expecting in this one tonight?
Well, it's hard to believe, Ben, that was actually the first meeting between these two teams in Cup play, but this one tonight should be pretty good. It's the second of three matches between these two clubs, one more coming up next Wednesday night, so great to be with you here tonight, and this should be another great one.
Again, that was just the first of the two-legged quarterfinal round in the Copa Nicaragua. The two teams will meet in Diriamba on Wednesday of next week, so it is an incredibly busy stretch for these two teams. Esteli will carry that 1-0 lead into the second leg. But in this match, and as we look towards Liga Primera, James, and what's happened so far, two teams on opposite ends of the spectrum as far as their form. Esteli unbeaten now in their last 15 matches going back to last season, 5 wins. Drew for the first time last weekend in the nation's capital against Walter Ferretti, but with 15 points and a plus 11 goal differential, they sit at the top of the league, while their biggest rivals, the Cacique, have really struggled. 2 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses. They've scored just 5 times in 6 matches and sit 5th place out of the 10-team Liga Primera table with an even 5 goals scored, 5 goals conceded so far. And this is a big match for Flavio da Silva in his second season as head coach, as it is Holver Flores on the Esteli side leading El Tren del Norte. So given that, James, this was a match last year that was won by Esteli, this Apertura match in the Estadio Independencia, resulted in Diriangén's manager being sacked. That's when Flavio da Silva took over after a 3-1 loss on this match day last season when Mauricio Cruz got the axe. So you would think for Diriangén, coming back to the same venue where they just lost on Wednesday, they're certainly seeking some revenge in a very heavily and hotly contested rivalry series that has seen Esteli get the upper hand, especially over the past few seasons.
Well, revenge has to be at the top of the list tonight for the Cacique of Diriangén, and one of the most successful franchises in Nicaraguan pro soccer, the oldest franchise in Nicaraguan pro soccer. So they're ready to do battle tonight here. Both these teams are very familiar with each other, and it's going to be a great match. We're about ready to get underway.
We saw Eric Lezama, our head official, a moment ago. Let's run through our starting 11s for both sides. First for the visiting Cacique of Diriangén under second-year head coach Flavio da Silva. In his second stint, spent the 2014 Clausura leading Diriangén, team with the most titles, 27 in Liga Primera history. They start with the former Esteli man, Justo Llorente, in goal. He is the only player on either side playing against his former team, and Llorente gets to start between the pipes with Marel Alvarez, Eric Tellez, Eric Mendoza, and Kevin Gonzalez in the back four, David Jarquin, Pedro Dos Santos, Tulio Lopez, and Jeremias Hurtado in the midfield with Bernardo Laureiro and Luis Coronel up top. You saw there some of the members of the Ultras. We have the Tommy mascot setting off the flares. You see the view that Rodrigo Romo, the Esteli keeper, will have in the first few minutes of
the good luck finding the ball in there, man.
Yeah, well, it's the second home match where fans are allowed. That began last weekend as Liga Primera announcing teams could have a 50% home capacity. First home match for Esteli since the resumption of those open doors was on Wednesday night in that 1-0 win against their arch rivals. We might have a short delay here as they wait for the smoke to clear, but the members of the Kami, the Ultras for Esteli, they always are waiting for this type of match, and the last 4 meetings between these two teams have been played behind closed doors. You can forgive them, James, for being a little bit excited about coming in tonight.
Oh, wow, it's great to see, and it was great to have the fans on hand as well on Wednesday night, Ben. They had a crowd of about 2,000 out Wednesday evening, so they were raucous as well Wednesday night, getting the smoke flares or whatever you want to call those going, and we're underway here now.
So yeah, the smoke appears to have subsided. Eric Lozama says, let's play. And the 121st edition of El Clásico Nacional is underway. Esteli in the home red and white jerseys. El Tren del Norte announcing a new refreshed logo this season as we run through their starting 11 with Rodrigo Romo starting in goal for Esteli. They've made 4 changes from that 1-0 winners lineup on Wednesday night. In the back four, Oscar Acevedo. He replaces Manuel Rosas, who is on the bench for the first time this season. Tonight's ball played through, looking for Harold Medina on the right edge of the box. Brandon Ayertis actually is right there, and his cross is cut out, but a chance to keep it alive for Esteli and Henry Garcia. He returns after a 2-game absence. One of those was due to suspension after he picked up a red card in a 2-1 win against Jalapa. But it's Garcia, Richard Rodriguez, Jorge Betancourt, and Brandon Ayertis, along with Yon Mosquera in that midfield. You mentioned Oscar Acevedo, he is joined by Cristian Gutierrez and Josue Quijano at the back of me, with Juan Barrera and Harold Medina, the two attackers tonight for Oliver Flores, the youngest manager at 22 years old in Liga Primera history.
Well, you mentioned Ben Brandon Ayerdas. He was kind of the co-hero the other night on Wednesday. He had the corner kick, very nicely placed corner kick right in front of the goal there for Richard Rodriguez, who finished the job off nicely. He got the 1-0 win for Esteli the other night. So he's fired up for tonight. Rodriguez, always effective for this club, so it's going to be a great one.
As the fans file in, you can see a couple of them. They do have the mandated masks requirement, as well as sanitizing stations around the ground. So the fans still file in. It is a overcast, rainy evening in the low 70s. Humid as always in Nicaragua. This is the northern part of the country in Esteli. Diriangén, but not too far away, also in that northern area. But the Cacique, the Chiefs, making a short journey to take on their rivals. I mentioned Diriangén, 27 titles, most all time. Esteli right behind them with their 14th title coming last season for the club founded back in 1960. And they have, like I said, James, dominated this rivalry as of late. They knocked Diriangén out of the season-ending tournament in both the fall and spring seasons last year. And both of those were dramatic affairs. One a 1-1 two-legged draw that saw Esteli advance on an away goal, and then Oscar Acevedo, who returns to the lineup tonight for Esteli, he scored the only goal across two legs in last year's Clausura semifinals. So when you think about, even though it's the rivalry and there's always the high amounts of emotion and intensity that come with that, that's the recent struggles that Diriangén will be trying to extort some revenge on tonight.
Yeah, and those thoughts are going through both heads of these players here tonight. That it's going to take them a little bit to settle down and really start playing their brand of soccer. And both of these teams want to do well. Obviously, Diriangén wants to get a little bit of revenge on Esteli after that loss from last season during the Clausura tournament. It's warm outside. You mentioned that earlier as well. 82 degrees. The humidity is on tonight at 81%, so it feels like 91 outside. So the players are going to have to make sure and stay hydrated, and don't expect. We'll probably expect a lot of substitutions as well this evening.
Great to hear the noise around the ground. The Esteli fans, this is the first league match they're able to attend.
We're going to have to see if we can request a shot of the drum line there that is ever present.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get a look before the night is done. Of course, the fans to the home side, Esteli, they're trying to take advantage of the experience tonight because Wednesday will be the second leg of the quarterfinal cup tie in Diriangén. Esteli hits the road, and then they'll be in the nation's capital next weekend against the recently promoted Junior Managua, who have not done poorly so far. They've held their own, 9th out of 10 at the table, but they've picked up a couple nice results so far. So those will be the next couple games for Esteli as they look to keep their unbeaten streak going. I guess you could say, James, these last couple matches have been most that Esteli have struggled offensively. It was a 0-0 draw at Walton-Ferretti last Saturday. Did scrape across the winner, like you mentioned, James. Richard Rodriguez in the 70th minute off the corner from Brandon Ayerdas, but the offense certainly not in the same form it was at the start of the season when Esteli was been pounding goals into the back of the net. 5 at Chinandega, 4 at Juventus, 2 each in wins over Jalapa, Ocotal, and Madrid.
Yeah, this team definitely not familiar with playing from behind, but they are able to rise to the challenge. They've shown it game in and game out, and they've shown that they're able to weather the storm, if you will, and find a way to win a ball game when they have to play from behind.
I saw a moment ago, Juan Barrera, he was really the source of that incredible early season surge of goals. He scored 8 in the first 5 matches, but he has been held out of the scorer's sheet the last 2 games. Took a knock a moment ago. Now his teammate in the 2-headed attack for Esteli, Harold Medina, taking a little knock. But it has been impressive to see Juan Barrera, the 31-year-old. So far now, it is he And Richard Rodriguez in league matches played every single minute, and Pereira, he started on Wednesday night, so he now of the 8 matches in all competitions for Esteli is the only one who has started all 8. Not bad for a guy who missed the final 6 games of last year with a shoulder injury, and into that 30-year-old range that usually starts to see guys take matches off, but not for Barrera.
No, Juan Barrera is solid, and he's been a force to be reckoned with for Esteli for quite some time. He was there wasn't too many chances for them on Wednesday night. It was a low-scoring affair, as we mentioned earlier, 1-0 total, but a couple of those chances were involving Barrera the other night.
Speaking of at least recent struggles in offensive form, like I said, Barrera was great in the early part of the season, but Esteli scoring just 1 goal over its last 2 matches. Similar struggles, though, for Diriangén. They went nearly 3 straight matches without a goal after losses against Jalapa and Walter Ferretti. They needed a late goal to earn a 1-1 draw at Junior Managua, and that was the last point they got. That was right before coming to Esteli Wednesday night in the first leg of the cup draw. Richard Rodriguez here, little tug of the shirt, and that will be held up for a foul. Actually, Jorge Betancourt held back. You see Rodriguez right there, number 8 in red, and he has a chance to look at this free kick. But those offensive struggles, something that Diriangén, at least over the past couple seasons, they have struggled with at times. They were by far, at least that you look at goals allowed last year, them and Esteli were far and away the top 2 defensive teams. They tied for the fewest goals allowed, but and they had their struggles offensively, and that ultimately came back to bite them once tournament time came around. And it's been no different, at least in the early part of the season this year, and the first attempt of the night tipped over the bar. In goal by Justo Llorente. And our first look at goal in the 9th minute results in an Esteli corner.
Yeah, Llorente was woken up right on that one there. A nice attempt, but just over the top of the bar to get the scoring chances going here for us tonight as we approach the 9th minute of play.
Justo Llorente, he started 143 games in the Esteli keeper shirt between 2013 and 2017. He punches this corner for the far touchline and out for an Esteli throw. Llorente was the number 1 national team keeper for a number of years. 28 starts, beginning back in 2013. So he's been a big presence at times with the bench keeper in the Nicaraguan game. Chance here for Luis Coronel looking to start the break, but Henry Garcia, the number 9 in red and white, is up to the task.
A great job by the Esteli defense there, shutting down that attempt from Coronel. He was moving up quickly up the right-hand side there for a moment.
Pereira, though, could be in here. His cross attempt blocked out by Eric Mendoza. And some shaky defending at the back. Eric Tellez, where's that captain's armband? The 13th-year man from Managua for Diriangén. Looked like he got some signals crossed with his back 4, and Pereira for a moment there, James, looked like he might have a clear path in on goal.
Yeah, the nonverbal communication just wasn't quite effective enough on that one there for them to get a chance off.
Second corner from Ayertis. He'll have a chance to do it again as that's out of play. You look at Ayertis, team's leading goal scorer from last season, 11 goals. Trying to recapture that form. This is his 4th start. He's come off the bench a few times. Scored against Real Madrid. 3rd game of the league season. His expectations were high coming into the year, and he goes short on the corner. Harold Medina chips the ball toward the right of Llorente, but he's up to that pass. Followed it the whole way with some of that residual flare powder in his goal. Llorente is able to bring it in and send it out. But James Esteli continues to be ball possession in our opening 11 minutes.
Yeah, great job right now by Esteli, but an excellent job in goal so far tonight for Justo Llorente.
He is a local product from Diriangén. It's interesting when you look at the rosters, James, in so many matches that we have seen over at least the past year or so. So Henry Garcia gets ready for the corner. Thanks for sticking with us. Some technical difficulties getting the feedback from Esteli, but we look good now. Didn't miss anything, which is it's always what you worry about, James, if ever you have a brief glitch. The one goal maybe you can see in a rivalry match, but we are still without a goal through our first 14 minutes of play. Real Esteli and Diriangén from Esteli, Nicaragua, and the Estadio Independencia. This venue holding about 8,000 fans, of course, with the restrictions in place that have just allowed fans to come back. It is in a capped capacity. James, you were mentioning on Wednesday in the League Cup, there were about 2,000 there.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was actually maybe that is the cap number per se, and that would maybe about a quarter of the fans, so that would make sense if they've capped it at around 2,000 or so.
Ultras they're making the atmosphere as good as you can hope for in a setting like this, and you can tell the players appreciating the presence of the fans as well after going nearly 6 months playing behind closed doors.
Yeah, it's great to be able to hear the fans in the background, a little bit of atmosphere with the music and the drums in the background, and you can also feel when there's a chance, you can feel the intensity pick up a little bit when the fans kind of kick in a little bit, so that's great to hear again.
Saw that free kick coming in from Bernardo Loureiro that was wide of Rodrigo Romo's goal. You look at Loureiro, he's had by far the best success scoring against Esteli in his career. You'd think, James, that combination of he and Pedro dos Santos. And you see dos Santos, the number 19 in the blue and gold shirt, who will have the best chance to threaten that goal of Esteli tonight, and Flavio da Silva. He'll need those two in particular to pick up a team that really has struggled offensively in its recent form.
Yeah, a big reason for Diriangén wanting to try to get back into things is the acquisition of Pedro dos Santos. He's a 28-year-old from Petrópolis, Brazil, and he knows how to score. He was in on a couple of their chances the other night for the Cacique.
It is Loureiro, the Uruguayan, tied for the team's leading goal scorer last year when he returned, and goes low on this free kick. Oh, got through everybody. Betancourt unable to get an interception, but nobody waiting at the back post. That's about as good of a ball as you could ask for, given the play there going low for Loureiro.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of movement on the defensive end for Esteli on that one. Just trying to thwart that attempt. It seemed like they were a little stuck in sand right there, but luckily it went wide of the net.
Diriangén brought Loureiro off the bench on Wednesday. He's the only player, though, with multiple goals scored this season. That gives you an idea. And we are in our match day 7 now. Just how much of a struggle it has been offensively to score goals for Diriangén, and why they sit 5th in the table. Cross coming toward Henry Garcia, but that's flicked up and out as far as Oscar Acevedo. And now Loureiro can give chase from Melo, Uruguayan, the northeast part of that country, 9th largest city in Uruguay. Loureiro has really carved out a nice career for himself in Nicaragua. Had a championship spell at Walter Ferretti, where he had a career-high 17 goals in the 2016-17 season. So there's your evidence, James. He is a goal scorer, has scored 7 times against Esteli throughout his career.
Well, you have to hand it to Loureiro, too, as well, and tip your cap to him, really being able to hang and run around out there with some 19 and 20-year-olds and really stick with them. So he's still got it.
Our first card of the evening going to Marel Alvarez, the 19-year-old Nicaraguan, on in defense. He's one of just 2 players on this club who have played all 540 minutes of league action coming in tonight. And he's now the only one who's played every minute. Jason Coronel is the other, and he starts on Flavio de Silva's bench. So the 3rd yellow card in 7 games picked up for Alvarez.
Did we get our official for tonight, Ben? I didn't hear you mention that earlier. If you did, I apologize.
Eric Lozama, our head of
Lozama.
And El Clásico Nacional. Garcia taken down near the touchline. Nice tackle by Eric Mendoza. And Garcia in some pain. Again, this is his return game. Has not played since a 2-1 dramatic win against Jalapa. That was 2 weeks ago tonight. But Garcia was sent off in that match shortly after his team got the game winner from Alexis Somariba. Picked up his 2nd yellow in stoppage time and was sent off, served a 1-game suspension, and then did not play in the first leg of the Cup on Wednesday.
Yeah, and that's exactly how Esteli wanted to welcome back fans with an exciting game like that one last Saturday night.
Nice piece of play. Medina, the header on, and it's just kept out by Llorente. Barrera sniffing toward the goal. Just couldn't quite get enough on that header into the ground. And Llorente is able to paw it out of the touchline to keep us without a goal.
Well, that ball bounced right in front of the net there at the very end of that. It seemed like it was just frozen in time for a moment there, but a great job in goal there for Justo Llorente to turn that one away. That
sort of ball, though, that you saw from Harold Medina is why the club, the coaches, fellow players have just raved about the talent of the 18-year-old Nicaraguan. Perfect ball put right on Juan Barrera's head.
Sure would like to have another look at that one there, but I'm not sure if we have the replay capabilities this evening, it seems, Ben. I haven't seen one flash through yet, have you?
It was certainly worth another look with how good of a ball Medina sent in.
It was.
And we stay without a score, though, for now in the 20th minute. Low-scoring matches have defined this rivalry series. 6 of the last 7 meetings have seen no more than 1 goal scored by either team. Garcia drags this wide.
Not too sure about that shot there from Garcia. He didn't really look to have too great of a lane and looked a little off balance on that one, but he pulled the trigger anyway.
the halfway mark of our opening 45. They do have the drinks break at the half-hour marks of each half, so we'll have that coming up in a few minutes.
Is that the happy half hour?
Yeah, I
like to call that?
So. I don't know. You'll have to ask James, see what that official title is in Nicaragua.
There we go.
Festive atmosphere tonight, though, to say the least.
It is.
This is a rivalry classic that has always been tightly contested, but Esteli have had the upper hand, especially in recent years. They lead the series 54 wins to 24 for Diriangén, 42 draws as well, and a 140-80 aggregate lead for Real Esteli. And in particular, this ground has been extremely difficult for Diriangén over the past couple of years. They have not won in 11 tries. They have salvaged draws on 6 occasions on the road, but have not won since the 2015 Apertura playoffs. That's the last time a road team won in this series in the playoff tournament format.
Well, Diriangén, you mentioned the recent struggles earlier in the broadcast, just trying to get up to the form that they're used to playing at, and now they have to contend with not only going on the road to Esteli, but also the return of fans, and obviously the fans are going to bring it a little bit more now, I would think, being able to finally be back in the stands and cheer for their home crowd. So Diriangén, a tough hill to climb.
Yeah, the second meeting between these two teams in last spring's Clausura, as well as the 2 legs in the semifinal where they squared off against one another. Those were both played behind closed doors. So 3 matches without fans, something that neither of these clubs used to seeing when playing each other. So they're happy to have that at least partial return to normalcy. That began last weekend. For Esteli, it was a 0-0 draw at Walter Ferretti. Diriangén coming off a 1-1 draw in the league at Junior Managua. Nearing almost, James, the halfway point of the Apertura season. 16 matches. We're at 7 so far, and Esteli and Walter Ferretti, they have established themselves as the top 2 teams. Esteli 16 points at the top. Ferretti right behind them with 14. Walter Ferretti and Managua, a big clash tonight in the nation's capital. Managua sits 4th, Diriangén 5th, with Jalapa a surprise 3rd in the table so far.
Yeah, we will have to keep our eye on that match there, and it'll also be interesting to keep our eye on how fatigue is going to play a factor for Esteli over the next couple of weeks, being that they've had to start playing more than 1 game a week over the past week or so here. So attrition is going to end up being a factor sooner or later.
One of the reasons why we've seen 4 changes tonight in the Esteli lineup. 2 changes for Diriangén. Barreiro, I mentioned, came off the bench Wednesday. Tulio Lopez, he's a normal starter who's back in the 11 after Cristobal Aragon was given a rare start for Diriangén on Wednesday. And that was Luis Coronel a moment ago. His shot rockets off a couple shins and all the way out to midfield. And while Esteli has had the bulk of the possession so far, Diriangén has settled down. Presented a couple of good Esteli scoring opportunities from unfolding, and there Juan Barrera picks up the foul.
Diriangén seems to be swinging the momentum their way slowly but surely, and it's going to be interesting to see if they're able to get one in here shortly, maybe before the cooling break.
A lot of youth, too, on this Diriangén team, and the club, as historic as they are, the Cacique, the club founded back in 1917, so the oldest club in Nicaragua, finally snapped a 13-year drought, though, when they won the 2018 Clausura, beating Esteli 3-2 on aggregate. They only have 4 real members of that team, though, still with the club, and they've had to rely on a lot of young players. Jeremias Hurtado, one of them, who made his senior level debut Wednesday night in the Cup, and he makes another start tonight. He's number 33 in the dark jerseys for Diriangén. The It's a long attempt by Richard Rodriguez, blocked, and takes a huge hop on the field turf up and over Justo Llorente, so out for a corner.
Now a chance for Esteli here to try to get something going offensively. Maybe they get one in here before the cooling break. Who's it going to be? Richard Rodriguez standing there in the middle. He's always dangerous. Right behind him.
Medina to take this corner. Looking for Gutierrez, but a little push in the back on the Esteli defender. The 27-year-old from Jalapa commits the foul. So you think about the 4 title-winning players from that 2018 team for Diriangén who are still left, and continuity is such a big part of any team sport, James, especially though you think about this year, the pandemic, and it has not affected Liga Primera as much as most leagues because in Nicaragua they've seen remarkably few cases, one of the only leagues worldwide who played through the pandemic, but still it does alter what you can do as far as transfer business. We've seen that with a number of international players being delayed and their arrival to various clubs around the league, but for Diriangén, they lose 5 starters from last season and 4 of their top 5 as far as minutes played.
Well, anytime you can keep a team together and you have more minutes on the pitch, you're going to be more cohesive. The nonverbal communication is going to be a lot better, and especially on the scoring chances. But you mentioned that the young, this Esteli team is so deep. They got great players in the U20 coming up into the pro ranks, and they're just doing great, and they're just very successful lately.
The U20 match earlier won by Esteli 3-1 over Diriangén. The U20s for Esteli, like the senior club, they're in the top of the youth standings as well so far. You see Jan Mosquera giving chase, really trying to pressure David Jarquin, and Mosquera called for a foul.
You know, I love the way Jan Mosquera plays. He's always going after the ball, always hard charging it, and not afraid to take a chance when he needs to, try to make a play for his team.
The last 2 fouls committed by Esteli, Mosquera, Gutierrez, those 2 tied for the team lead with 10 yellow cards drawn last season. So no coincidence there on some of the contacts, certainly.
Last Saturday night, if you remember, Ben, was a pretty physical game as well for Esteli and Diriangén. Or excuse me, Jalapa, when they came off that game with Jalapa.
And really the last few matches, 2-1 home win against Jalapa for Esteli, 0-0 draw at Walter Ferretti. Easy one-hopper handled by Romo in goal. Interesting though how, at least in the past couple of years, James, and you have Esteli, 2-time defending tournament champions, they really have not been at their best in the regular season. It's been a true peak in the playoff tournament type run for Esteli. This is, at least based on recent years, kind of rare to see Esteli off to such an amazing start. If anything, we've seen them struggle in the past against Diriangén in the regular season. You look at last year, and Esteli only won 1 of the 4 regular season meetings, 1 draw and 2 wins for Diriangén.
Yeah, and you've got to think that Hover Flores in his first couple of seasons with the club, he's really being able to kind of put his stamp on the team and develop things, establish a culture the way he wants to, and then establish that tradition of success, which you mentioned. Now they're able to parlay not only during the end of the season, but also during the regular season as well, and they're off to a hot start once again.
In the meantime, David Jarquin is down. Collision with Henry Garcia, who you see right there for Esteli. The Cacique players wanting a yellow on that challenge. Jarquin, the 23-year-old from Diriamba.
We got to find out from Henry Garcia what they call that hairstyle there too, huh?
Yeah, you might have to find that
there he
out
is right there at the bottom.
Yeah. Might have to imitate that, James.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's good to see Jarquin. He's up and okay. Had an injury-riddled season a year ago, only appeared in 10 matches. after a career-high 27 with 17 starts the year before. So good to see the 23-year-old up and looking okay. You saw, by the way, Josue Quijano, he wears the captain's armband tonight with Manuel Rosas, who started in the Cup match Wednesday night, the 36-year-old, out of the starting 11 tonight. He is available on the bench, though, and they will use that injury stoppage to double as our first half cooling break. 0-0 between Real Esteli and Diriangén. Esteli first, Diriangén fifth in the Liga Primera 10-team table through 6 match days. And James, after these two played to a 1-0 Esteli win Wednesday night in the first leg of the League Cup quarterfinals, what have your impressions been given the proximity to the last meeting between these two teams and the first 32 minutes now we've seen?
Well, the energy seems to be there. You think it might drop off a little bit. Obviously, they're playing more games per week right now, at least during this stretch of the season. But they've come out pretty energetic, and they're moving around the pitch pretty well. So they're both evenly matched teams. It's just a matter of who's going to draw first blood here. And it looks like you can see, obviously, Holver Flores getting everybody realigned and making sure that they're all on the same page here.
Now, under Holver Flores, this Esteli team yet to be defeated in its quest for a league title. Took over for his mentor, Sergio Rodriguez, at the end of last fall's regular season. Immediately guided them to a tournament title. 4-0 in playoff ties. Did well enough in the Clausura last season. Finished second, 10 wins, 5 draws and 3 losses, and then of course won again in the Clausura tournament, knocking off Diriangén in the semifinals, both fall and spring last year, beating Managua in the finals both years. And after some deliberation, we now do see a very delayed pair of yellow cards. One given to Jarquin and the other to Juan Barrera. And I think it is going back to that challenge. Garcia was in the mix as well, but it did look like Barrera he was the man making that key run. And I am a little bit surprised, though, that Jarquin gets a card after all that. He certainly came up worse for wear.
Yeah, that one was interesting to say the least, Ben. I'm not really sure how that all shook out there. That might be, obviously, that was the reason for the delay. They had to talk about it a little bit, but an interesting play to say the least.
Both go into referee Eric Lezama's book.
Dos Santos now.
This is Eric Mendoza, one of the more experienced players on the club, but unable to get that cross right. You'd think, going back to that, James, if you're going to give a yellow on the defender there in Jarquin, you would think that would result in a free kick for Esteli. You'd think a yellow would be called on a foul. Clearly they ruled, though, it was the opposite. And Barrera was the guilty party, yet they decided to card them both. So sometimes we're not really sure what to make of specific refereeing decisions, but I'm spelling out the logic as I think about it, and it doesn't make too much sense. But again, it is a big rivalry match, and the biggest challenge for these officials, keeping everything under control. There is a long history between these two teams, and at times a history of things getting out of control, as with any hotly spirited rivalry.
Yeah, Nitzar Sandoval was the official the other night on Wednesday. He did a great job of keeping things under control. Obviously, a low-scoring match, so that might have helped a little bit. But the officiating crew, all as a whole, have done a great job in the Apertura season here so far of keeping these games under control.
Betancourt looking to push forward for Esteli. Harold Medina, he nearly set up a goal. Really, 2 half chances for the host so far, as Acevedo has a rip, doesn't come close. There was that shot from distance by Rodriguez that had to be parried over the bar by the keeper Llorente, and then Llorente did make a very good save on a Short cross from the edge of the box by Medina. Found the head of Barrera, whose only play was to head it into the turf. But it was headed toward goal, and Llorente had to swat it out. Those are really the main two chances we've seen in our first 36 minutes tonight.
Yeah, Justo Llorente doing a great job in goal tonight for Diriangén, and you mentioned those couple of chances right in front of him. He's really lucky that there wasn't more Esteli players in front of the goal, or it might have been a little bit more challenging for him, but he did a great job standing tall there for his team.
You think about the lack of continuity, all the new faces for Diriangén, that their manager Flavio da Silva, who you saw a moment ago there, trying to get all in place and figure out, and it can be so frustrating. You think about this game in particular, James, and this season, how you start off a campaign, that early season, you're trying to blend guys, but when you don't have any possession, you're just not really getting the fluidity offensively. It can result in a lot of frustration, having to constantly defend and feel like you have to work out of your own third all the time, and that's what Diriangén has struggled with so far. When you look at it, 5 goals in 6 matches, and they've not had a very difficult schedule to start the year. Really only one match against Walter Ferretti, against a presumed top 4 team to start the season.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's kind of like a car, an automobile. If you start it up and just let it idle, but you never really get to open it up and rev the engines a little bit, and that's kind of how their offense has been. In recent history, they just can't really seem to find that rhythm and not have enough chances, as you mentioned, to really execute and get live bullet practice on some of the plays that they want to try to run and see how they work against a live defense. So that's one of the struggles they've been dealing with.
You see Pedro dos Santos taking the quick free kick there. He's the only player on this roster with multiple Liga Primera titles. He was not only a member of that 2018 Clausura Championship team, but he was also teammates with Bernardo Loureiro at Walter Ferretti, as this play well offside. Luis Coronel behind the defense. It was Dos Santos, Loureiro, and a man on the bench tonight for Diriangén in Macon Santana. Those 3 were all on the 2015 championship team for Walter Ferretti. And Dos Santos, the only of those 3 who have won multiple titles, so trying to bring his championship acumen into the starting 11 of a young Diriangén squad.
Not sure if you saw that little close-up a moment ago of Dos Santos, but he kind of looks a little bit like a young A-Rod.
Okay, that's a comp I wasn't thinking of, but...
Yeah, check it out.
All right.
Check it out. There he is right there.
It does seem like, though, in Liga Primera, the more success you see, especially from some of the slightly older players, Dos Santos, the 28-year-old Brazilian, the more flamboyant hairstyles you get. We saw that, the red dyed beard from, you remember that, Cristiano
yes. Fernandez.
Ferretti's captain, formerly of Managua. So maybe the sign of the elder statesman getting to have that freedom, I suppose.
Yeah, it does seem to be a direct correlation. You're right. And you would think it was just because the hair is falling out, but that's not it.
Far from the truth. So we get a foul on the edge of the box, and trying to see where they're going to rule this. It could either be called a penalty or it could be called just outside. Now it looks like, from what Eric Lizama initially ruled, that they are going to say penalty here. And the Diriangén players, it looked to me at first glance like this was outside the box, but we'll get another look. I think they're going to call this a foul inside the box as Medina goes down. And you know what? When you look at it, I think that's the right call by Eric Lizama.
Well, it looked like his feet were just inside the box. I mean, you're either in or out of the box, and he was just inside, so that looked to be the correct call after we got to let him look at the replay there. Have to have those kids on the fence down there. They have a good look.
It's a play that really didn't have to be made as far as the challenge, because Medina just on the edge of the box, really not in a particularly threatening area. And at first glance, I was Surprised even to see a foul called. If you're going to call the foul, though, if it's inside the box, it's a penalty, and that's what they decide. So, despite the protests of the visitors of Diriangén, they immediately started pointing to the spot outside the box. Our lead official, Eric Lezama, having none of it, and there's nothing Bernardo Loureiro can do. Juan Barrera, he is anchored to the penalty spot.
Oh, wow. Look at this.
Eventually, there's nothing Bernardo Loureiro can do here. They've already signaled penalty.
Oh.
He's clearly frustrated with the call and pushing and shoving.
Loureiro wants to take on everybody.
Yeah, he'll go into the book.
He might get a red if he's not careful.
And you understand the frustration for Diriangén conceding. In all honesty, that's just a cheap foul to concede. And to do it in a dangerous spot right on the edge of the box, you're risking disaster. Loureiro clearly frustrated.
Well, now you put all the pressure on your goaltender. All the pressure's on Lorente.
And now it's Juan Barrera, 8 goals scored, leader in Liga Primera this season. He's only scored once in his at least current career against Diriangén, his current time with Esteli, last scoring back in 2013. So it's been a while for Juan Barrera against the Esteli arch-rival club.
Now you take a look right now, Ben, those kids sitting right behind the goal. Wednesday night, one of them headed the ball right back in after a shot similar to this one. Pretty interesting.
So here is Barrera in El Clásico Nacional looking for our opening goal. Barrera delivers. Top corner, no chance for Llorente. It is 1-0 Esteli in the 43rd minute.
Great job there by Juan Barrera. A ton of smoke on that ball off the right foot, and there was just no way Lorente could move laterally quick enough on that one to make an attempt on it.
And that's why you have the 31-year-old experience of Barrera. Could not see a more cool and calm penalty taken right there. First the foul, now the strike from Barrera. No nonsense on the brief run-up. And for Llorente, he guessed right, but too much power, too much height on it, and it's 1-0.
Yeah, that one had quite a bit of lift there as it took off from the foot of Juan Barrera, but a blistering goal inside the back of the net there for Esteli, 1-0.
So a frustrating half for the visitors of Diriangén. 3 yellow cards given out, really no discernible possession to speak of. And they concede the penalty on a foul right on the edge of the box in a non-threatening position for Harold Medina. And watches Juan Barrera, the enlightened one. And here's another look. This is the contact we're seeing, and it's definitely inside the box.
He absolutely had his feet inside the box, just barely, but inside's inside.
I think the frustration more than anything, James, is just the unnecessary nature of that challenge. I mean, why you're lunging into a player who really didn't have much room to work with. I think that's probably what Diriangén will be frustrated with more than anything, is they concede, and now it just feels like the way this offense has been going, a long road ahead. After losing on this ground 1-0 Wednesday night in the League Cup first leg, and now down 1-0 again here as we approach halftime with 2 additional minutes to come.
And as you mentioned, Diriangén now, once again, they have to play from behind, so the mental aspect is going to kick in, and it's just, they just feel like they're constantly looking uphill, which is something they're all too familiar with as of late.
Santos, you see him there, the number 19. Can he and Loureiro come up with some sort of magic? Of course, you need the help of your back line to get that possession started, and they just have not had it. The Cacique.
Ping pong this one around a little bit near midfield.
There's that youngster I mentioned, Jeremiah Furtado, the Diriangén native. Ball forward, play to Barrera. That shot wide, Diriangén player saying he was well offside. I have to admit, James, I thought initially he was offside. Maybe we'll get another look, but the flag stayed down. And Barrera, I think, a little upset at himself that he didn't take an extra second or two to collect himself and fire.
Maybe he he might have assumed, which he probably shouldn't have, obviously, there after that play was over, that he was going to get a whistle on that, but he should have swung through that a little bit better, and he definitely wishes he would have set up on that shot.
With those offensive struggles for Diriangén, and you can see a way for the visitors to somehow scrap and claw their way to a goal, but going down 2 feels like it would be all but over for Esteli as they push for a second before the end of this first half, applying so much pressure to that Diriangén back line. We'll see if the visiting Cacique can come up with a counter. It's a nice little move on the far side, but the cross blocked out as Kevin Gonzalez tries to make a run. And that will be the final action of our opening half. Entertaining as always in El Clásico Nacional, but it is a late penalty conceded and capitalized by Juan Barrera. His 9th goal of the season puts Esteli on top, 1-0 over Diriangén in the Liga Primera, the match of the week in this El Clásico Nacional. So we have reached halftime. Hope you can join us for our second half of action as the league leaders Esteli ahead against 5th place Diriangén. 1-0 at the break. We'll have more coming your way after this. You've been watching this presentation of Liga Primera Soccer. Again, our halftime score, Esteli 1 and Diriangén 0.
Nos has acompañado en cada minuto jugando. Has estado con tu camiseta alentando en la gradería. El Independencia ha rugido con tu grito de combate. Tus bengalas han iluminado los campos de juego. Has estado en cada batalla, en cada victoria, en cada derrota. Esta vez, por las circunstancias en las que enfrenta el mundo, por esa batalla que vamos a ganar, las graderías están vacías, pero nunca nos sentimos solos, porque tu camiseta, tu grito, tus bengalas nos iluminaron el corazón hasta el último minuto. Y como en cada final, dejamos todo en la cancha por vos. Este título tiene tu nombre. Gracias, fanaticada. Yo soy del Tren.
Viví la nueva experiencia digital del campeón nacional de Nicaragua. Ingresa a realestelifc.com y disfruta de la nueva app online del Tren del Norte. Noticias, resultados, estadísticas, videos y todas nuestras series en un solo lugar. Recibí notificaciones directamente en tu dispositivo. Suscríbete ahora y sé parte de la familia rojiblanca.
The Train of the North invites you to subscribe to its new YouTube channel, where you can enjoy live matches, scores, interviews, and exclusive content from the greatest soccer club and reigning Nicaraguan champion. The time to be engaged with the international train has arrived. Follow the train from the north.
Llegó el momento de dar el gran paso,
de pasar el legado a una nueva generación.
Es el momento de trascender
y ser más que un gran equipo.
Es el momento de honrar grandes proezas.
Y recordar grandes momentos.
Porque la historia no solo se recuerda.
La historia se escribe y se vive.
Hoy más que nunca vamos con el tren a todas partes.
Porque somos un solo equipo.
Llevamos la sangre kamikaze.
Por un solo campeón.
Por una sola grandeza.
Por un nuevo Real Esteli.
Grande, solo el tren.
Hoy no solo nace un nuevo equipo.
Hoy nace una institución que evoluciona.
Es el inicio de una nueva era.
El legado continúa.
El diamante de las Segovias brilla por sí mismo. Eran los 60s cuando dejamos de esperar ese sueño que nos llegó sobre rieles e iniciamos la búsqueda de nuestro propio legado. La participación de un primer campeonato nos abrió paso a la época dorada del fútbol nacional. De ahí partió nuestro propio tren, el Tren del Norte. Fue en la siguiente parada donde se marcó el inicio de nuestra leyenda. En julio del 91, una ronda de penales inauguró la época real. Por los últimos 30 años, hemos ido con el tren a todas partes, con un corazón rojo y el alma blanca. Campeones que salimos al mundo por Nicaragua. Volvemos a la independencia con la emoción de la próxima temporada, defendiendo una racha imparable del Club Nacional de Fútbol más exitoso hasta la fecha. 8,000 almas nos reunimos en el mejor estadio de fútbol del país a celebrar, llorar, sufrir y rugir por la camiseta roja y blanca. La barra kamikaze entrega todo en las gradas por la hegemonía y el legado de su equipo. Juntos sudamos la camiseta y brillamos por nuestros propios compromisos con el deporte nacional. Somos el Tren, quienes orgullosamente representamos la primera institución deportiva de Centroamérica. Ese es nuestro legado. Un mismo equipo, un mismo país, la herencia que viene de la montaña. Ahora, una marca deportiva de campeones nicaragüenses con futuras generaciones que seguirán brillando como diamantes en la corona del Real Esteli. El legado continúa.
Welcome back to the Estadio Independencia. Players making their way out onto the pitch for the second half of this El Clásico Nacional duel between the hosts, Real Esteli, and the visitors, Diriangén. The Train of the North, the hosts with a 1-0 halftime lead thanks to Juan Barrera's league-leading 9th goal of the season, a penalty in the 43rd minute drawn by Harold Medina right on the edge of the box. And James Puvy, my partner tonight, the struggles continue really for Diriangén. Offensively, weren't able to get much traction at all. And this, would you say, has this mirrored what you saw Wednesday night in the League Cup? That was the last match both of these teams played. It was against each other on Wednesday night, first leg of the two-legged Copa Nicaragua quarterfinals. Esteli won that match 1-0, and they lead 1-0 tonight.
Honestly, Wednesday night was a little bit more of a slower pace game. You think it would be the opposite way around, but Wednesday was a little bit slower pace. It seemed like the teams came out a little bit more with a little bit more energy tonight. And that goal was tough to swallow there for Diriangén off of that penalty just inside the goal box there. And Juan Barrera took full advantage on that one. They're up 1-0.
One sub, as you can see there, made at the halftime break by Diriangén and second-year manager Flavio da Silva. It is the youngster Hurtado off, and the 25-year-old Jonathan Zapata, second year in his second stint with the Cacique, fifth year overall. He will enter in the midfield of the 4-4-2 as we get ready to start the second half. Again, Ben Wilson alongside James Puvy. Mekong Santana, the second sub as well, replacing Luis Coronel. So add that as well to the substitutions made at the half. Diriangén using 2 of their 3 at the halftime break. And you really can't blame Da Silva, the head man, for doing that, James. This is a Diriangén team in a rivalry setting on the road, clearly needing a bit of a spark. They did not put together much offensively. Were forced to sit back and defend most of that first half, and it ultimately bit them when they conceded a penalty. We'll see what those substitutions can do, Santana and Zapata, with some pretty good credentials, though, for both of them as far as their history in Liga Primera.
Well, Flavio da Silva just decides to pull the trigger on those 2 substitutions there, just trying to maybe get some fresh legs in the ball game and try to get something going offensively as they're once again, unfortunately for them, playing from behind here to Esteli.
Right away, a collision, and Medina hits the deck along with a Diriangén player, just trying to glimpse at a number. I believe that is Zapata, who just entered. First league match at home for Esteli with the return of the 50% allocated fans. The last half of the Clausura, the spring season, earlier this year, as well as the first 5 match days of the 2020 fall season played behind closed doors. But fans are back, as you can hear, the beating of the drum from the kamikazes, what the ultras call themselves here in Esteli. And a ball played forward nearly comes through. Still a chance to keep it alive for Diriangén, but really with nobody in support. Ball by Kevin Gonzalez sent right at Rodrigo Romo.
Yeah, that one there from Gonzalez, a chance for Diriangén, but a little bit too telegraphed there, and the goalkeeper ready for that one immediately as it was right in his chest.
There you see, though, the influence of Santana just brought on the pitch, and he was a quarter of a second there from meeting the Esteli defensive end ball, and he would have been in on goal.
Very close.
But it remains 1-0. Esteli looking to continue its streak of unbeaten matches. We're pushing to 16 with at least a draw tonight. Not lost since last April. Juan Barrera trying to cut back for Henry Garcia, a little bit behind the 5'8" Nicaraguan, and eventually loses out on the ball, commits the foul, and it is a free kick for Diriangén, who currently sit a disappointing, by their standards, 5th in the league table. 2 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses through 6 matches. All about, though, peaking at the right time. James Esteli knows that better than anybody. They did not play their best until the season-ending tournaments last season, 2-time defending champions. But the top 6 get into the season-ending tournament. They do a tournament both in the fall and the spring. So as long as you're in the top 6, you have a chance. But Diriangén will want to see better form than they are in right now. Down a goal against the league leaders and their arch rival. They've been better starting this half. Across this time, again handled easily by Romo, but a little bit more of a push being shown by the visiting Cacique.
Well, you have to tip your cap right now to Diriangén, because they've definitely come out here in the second half as the aggressor. You can only imagine the conversation in the locker room at halftime with Flavio da Silva. Obviously, he might have lit a spark under this team in some way or shape or form, because they've come out on a little bit more of an energetic pace here in the second half.
18-year-old Medina goes down as he took a shot from 31-year-old captain Eric Tellez, in his 13th year, longest tenured member of the Cacique. We'll see a break here as the injured Medina being attended to. You think about this match tonight, too, for Flavio da Silva. You just mentioned him a moment ago, James, an experienced manager. This is the fourth different Liga Primera team he has served at the helm of in his career. But soccer in general, this is not just unique to Nicaragua and Liga Primera, but globally, coaches seem to just come and go at a whim, really. So many coaches get sacked. You can have a 3-match losing streak and you're done. So you do have to wonder what Flavio da Silva's status and what his hot seat looks like right now, given that the team is disappointed to this point. Only 2 wins in their 7 matches in all competitions. And what will happen if they fail to come back tonight? Just thinking about what happened last year. They lost the same match. Mauricio Cruz was sacked the next day.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it is a business when it comes down to the end of the day. And unfortunately, some decisions have to be made at a business level, and they can't really be taken personally. But you never know what's around the corner. If you're a coach, you always gotta. They say you always have to have a bag packed, and they always say as well in sports that winning fixes everything. But Diriangén is not in that situation, unfortunately.
Esteli is one of its defensemen, Yon Mosquera, more of a defensive midfielder, but the always aggressive Colombian, 31-year-old in his second year with the club. That's a yellow card. He is used to seeing those. Picked up 10 last year, had to serve a pair of 1-game suspensions, as you do when you get to 5 yellows. And for every 5 yellow cards, you have to sit out a match.
Yon Mosquera, no stranger to the yellow card, but I do appreciate his aggressive play. He's willing to stick his neck out there a lot of times for his team, try to make some sort of difference.
You do appreciate that as a coach, and a rivalry setting, especially like the one we've seen tonight. And it has been a little more open. The play on both sides, pushing up and down the pitch in our first few minutes of this second half. 1-5 in the league table, and Mosquera, well, he was just booked. That is a foul. Probably not enough for a second yellow, but he'll now have to be careful. And that's where you walk a fine line, James. You think about the aggression and getting your team pumped up, but sometimes it can have horrific consequences if you go a little too far, and Mosquera got close there.
Well, Mosquera is just kind of walking on thin ice right now with our official Eric Lazawa tonight. Kind of gave him a little bit of a look there, and like, hey, one more time and we might have a little bit of an issue. So Mosquera's got to definitely be careful here going forward.
Flores yet to use a sub. A lot of times for many managers, that yellow followed by near second is enough to get a player pulled, but we'll see how much he trusts his 31-year-old Mosquera. Here a cross comes in, great header, and it just parried aside. Laurero got a healthy cut at that with his head, but Rodrigo Romo was ready for it. He was able to send it out for a Diriangén corner. That really came out of nothing, but a great look for the Cacique.
What a great job there for Romo in goal. An excellent chance there for Laurero, but just too much defense on for Esteli on that one. They dodged a big bullet there.
Powerful header from the Uruguayan. Diriangén not done. This one, though, leaves a little to be desired. And Tana didn't get much height on it, and there was a push in the back anyway. One of those Diriangén players trying to queue up near the 6. First extended amount of pressure, though, we've seen from the visitors tonight, James, as they, as you alluded to it right before the break. You thought Flavio da Silva would be giving quite a spirited talk at halftime, and while we obviously don't know what was said, you have to imagine, based on the response, that the Cacique have really responded to their coach at the break.
Well, you know, the coach knows the team better than anyone else, or at least they should. And sometimes they'll know what buttons to push in the locker room at halftime to maybe light a fire underneath someone, or maybe even upset them a little bit, or make them a little angry, and they'll come out maybe a little bit different out of that locker room for the second half.
Richard Rodriguez plays all the way back to his keeper, Rodrigo Romo. we haven't really mentioned it tonight, James, but it is an open audition. I don't know if that's really the right word to describe it as. Is this ball sent across the face of goal? Larrero gives chase to Gonzalez's ball, but it's out for a goal kick. Where you have that goalie split, Denver Fox started the season in goal. They wanted to bring in Rodrigo Romo, had issues getting him to Nicaragua from Spain due to all the COVID-related travel restrictions. Finally bring him in. He's a 28-year-old from Spain, and at least to me, since he's coming, James, seems like he is the number one. It's for Denver Fox, but Fox got to start in the League Cup Wednesday. Pretty even split since Romo was at least activated. He was not even with the club until a week before the season started. Time to get himself up to speed, but that's an interesting development to watch as this fall continues, and as Esteli continues to play a lot of matches in a short amount of time.
Yeah, you mentioned that, the changing out in goal for Esteli. I couldn't help but wonder if it was just because of the frequency of games over the past week or two, or if they're really trying to ride with Rodrigo Romo. But credit to Denver Fox as well. He was pretty much the star of the show during the Clausura tournament, and during this season, he's every time he's had a chance to start and play, he's done nothing but play well. So he's doing his job, and he knows that every time he gets a chance, he's going to try to do just that.
Yeah, regardless of who's been in goal, it has not impacted the defensive quality for Esteli. They've only conceded 4 times in their 6 league matches and had the clean sheet against Diriangén on Wednesday. Jorge Betancourt right there down on the field surface. It was raining at the start of the match, but it is clear now.
Got a lot of that recycled rubber down there on that turf. I see too, Ben. You could really tell there when we got that shot up of that close up of Betancourt.
Yeah, they are still in the planning phases. They are expected to install a new grass field surface in time for the CONCACAF League. Offside flag up here. That whole area and back forward. And the CONCACAF League, which is basically a qualifying tournament for the CONCACAF Champions League, that starts October the 20th. And they are expecting to field time for that. They would be given the FIFA Quality Pro classification. Looking to make it back to the CONCACAF Champions League, which is a really big deal for a club, and really any club in Central America, but especially a country as small as Nicaragua, who doesn't have a huge presence on the international stage. They did qualify for the CONCACAF Champions League every year between 2013 and 17, so 5 straight years. 4 straight years, I should say, looking to make it a 5th qualification, and then that again begins in about a month and a half.
Well, the team's got to be excited about that. Not only the chance to qualify and to get that certification, but get that new field installed and have a brand new playing surface.
Herrera, pretty obvious push in the back as he find his head on the end of that. That's on core cross.
He's still going to plead his case, though. Ben. He's got to say something. Can't let him have the last word.
As any experienced player will do, working the officials. Yes. Things have calmed down a bit. We had a fiery stretch in that first half. Another great ball pushed forward, but offside again is the call. Kevin Gonzalez from that left back spot continues to work hard, pressing his way forward, but saw 4 cards in the first half. Of course, the penalty that was furiously contested by Diriangén. But upon replay, it didn't look to be the right call. Foul on the edge of the box, sending Harold Medina to the turf. Juan Barrera stepped up, calmly put his penalty in the top right-hand corner. And that's the advantage for Esteli as we near the hour mark. Yet to make a sub. And the hosts, but they, as you can see down there, getting their substitutes warm, ready to go in. one sub remaining in the meantime for Diriangén.
Yeah, Justo Lorente put in a tough spot there off of that penalty on Harold Medina inside the box, and it was just too much to handle off the foot.
Brandon Ayertis, he's been quiet tonight, but a good run. Arguing it should be a goal. I think they'll give a goal kick instead, and that is the ball to Eric Ortega. I think I spoke. They will bring it back for a Esteli corner. If not, maybe a free kick. So neither is given. They actually say foul first. And Ayertis, who looked disappointed after that run,
he did.
It was a pretty good job, despite a quiet night for the 20-year-old.
Yeah, he can catch fire at any time, though, but can Ayertis.
Low cross from Rodriguez, not his best effort. Into the near side stand. Now Ayertis throw. There's a look at the former Esteli man, Lorente. Could not blame him at all on that penalty he gave up. Spotted ball by Juan Barrera. He's made a couple of good saves so far tonight.
Justo Lorente done a great job overall, although his club is trailing 1-0. You mentioned the goal there by Juan Barrera. Barrera went high with it. He went low, and just no chance. But he was put in a tough position after that penalty there on Medina.
Hour in the books. Non-stop beating for a second. That's a good fan support.
That's what I forgot to do there as we entered the second half. And I forgot to unmute my my amp. We're all caught up on that now. We'll see if we can't teach him a different drum beat down there, though. I'd like to get online and give him some Skype lessons. We can make that work.
Well, there's a lot of vigor to that.
I got a lot to do down there, man. I got to get down there.
It's consistent. Nothing else. They call themselves the kamikaze. You know, the ultra for Esteli.
Kamikaze. I like it. It's just great to see the fans, man. You see at the beginning of the game, they're shooting off the little smoke cannons, and everybody's jacked up. It's great.
It is a throw-in for Esteli. Here you can probably hear the background audio that's still released. Eric Ortega, that official use of his mind. Brighter in the second half for Diriangén, but overall still a frustrating night for the SDA. Clásico Nacional, historic rivalry in Nicaragua will continue to favor Esteli. Great run by Garcia. Beautiful cross. Barrera right there, and he couldn't finish. Could not have put the ball in a better spot. Henry Garcia. And Juan Barrera rightly holding his head in his hand. Should have been 2-0.
Wow, Barrera breakaway on the left side, put it right in front of the net. And just an easy spot there for Juan Barrera. All he had to do was really swing through that one and just give a little bit of misdirection to the goalie. But wow, what a miss. Unfortunate there.
If you're going to pick one player on either team, maybe one player in the entire league that you want tracking down a perfectly placed cross on the hop like that, you're probably thinking Juan Barrera. So just a shocking miss for a 31-year-old. Maybe the most well-known scorer in Nicaraguan, at least recent Nicaraguan history. We see our first sub of the night. Francisco Paz comes in. Harold Medina is off for Esteli.
Again, imagine that Juan Barrera will have more than one nightmare about that shot there after the game tonight.
Well, at least it helps he did score his penalty, and you think about the composure and confidence that you need in your penalties. Barrera made it look easy. But I would say, to your point, James, if Diriangén is able to find an equalizer or somehow, even though I haven't shown much offensively, they somehow come back and win, that'll be your moment that you think back to. With the moment they could have put this match away at 2-0. Instead, though, it's a 1-0 margin, and Diriangén has looked a little brighter since the halftime break.
You know, they can continue to push the pace here. There's still plenty of time left for them to get a goal. You know, they're only one goal away from tying it up, and if you're just one goal out, you have a little bit more optimism than 2 goals, as you mentioned earlier, and they might have a shot here.
Cuts it back, goes through a couple different Esteli defenders. This shot wide of the target from Zapata. And right on cue, James, you get bodies forward. Good crossing from Gonzalez. Missed the boot of a couple Esteli defenders, and Zapata. Not a bad effort. Could not put it on target from the edge of the box.
A great job of concentrating there off the couple of deflections there for Romo as well. So great job at net for Esteli.
After the first half, it was one-sided. Esteli, while it was an unfortunate penalty to give up, really an unneedless challenge on the edge of the box by Diriangén, it was still a deserved 1-0 lead at the break. As I think we're seeing Juan Barrera. Is he getting a second yellow? I think he is. I was just about to say, James, the second half has been much more evenly split. And Barrera is called for a yellow. Talk about needless, just a shove off the ball, and he has been sent off. So half was already pretty even. Just 2 minutes ago, Juan Barrera missed a wide open, empty net that would have made it 2-0. Moments later, he is off the pitch, and Diriangén has life with a man advantage and 25 minutes still to play.
Imagine the excitement right now for Diriangén. They see one of the best goal scorers in the league now exiting the pitch, heading to the showers after his second yellow card. They've got a shot here. They would love to get one in the net here very quickly.
I believe it's Eric Tellez who was the victim of that blow from Juan Barrera. He is parted off the pitch. Not sure he'll be able to continue, but he's going to rank which one of those is more shocking. Would you say the miss by Barrera, or the fact that a veteran player like him would pick up a second yellow? He's been commanding one position. I'm not sure what I would say is more shocking, because they both were.
Yeah, they were both shocking for sure. Honestly, to me, the more shocking event was him missing that beautifully placed ball right in the front of the net, because I think the second yellow might have come from a little bit of frustration from missing that wide open money shot right there in front.
Most meetings and a rivalry like this tend to have no different. It's the second time we seem to be in a great match over 7 days. As the Cup first leg on Wednesday of this week, actually won that match 1-0. That's like the interior Wednesday of next week. This league match in between. Not too surprising to see somebody sent off the action that had happened with Isaac, and now a handball call, and here comes the question, James, is this outside the box or inside? There's Lozama. The initial point is outside the box, and that was really, really close.
Another close penalty here, Ben. We'll see if we get another look at it, but from the looks of Lozama and where he's standing right now, it looks like they're spotting it just outside the box as opposed to that earlier controversial call just inside the line.
It was Oscar Acevedo who called for the handball. I've not seen a replay yet, but that was, I honestly thought in real time, like Acevedo just inside the box. But again, hard to really tell from broadcasting remotely. Eric Lozama, he was right on the penalty call in the first half. And he spots the ball just outside the 18-yard box with Bernardo Laureiro, the Uruguayan, team's leading goal scorer, ready to pick.
As the Esters continue to plead their case and form a wall at the same time.
69th minute. Here comes Laurero. The free kick off the wall and over. And laugh. And they show their appreciation for that effort. Corner. That before hit the neck, he was part of that four-man wall.
Fatigue has got to start to be a factor here, and for Diriangén now as we approach the 70th minute, that clock's going to become a factor for them as well.
With Juan Barrera sent off a couple minutes ago. Not a bad corner here. Flashes right across Rodrigo Romo's goal. Garcia does just enough. Spears that out of play. That's the corner, but still a Diriangén throw.
Excellent hustle play there from Garcia, saving that corner. Now he's on defense here. Stole that one away.
This one right to Romo on a couple short hops. We have played 70. If you're just joining us, penalty in the 43rd minute for Juan Barrera, but Barrera, after missing a wide open net in the 60th minute, sent off just a few minutes ago for his second yellow card. And since then, Diriangén, with the man advantage, have been on the front foot as far as possession, pushing for the equalizer.
Yeah, ever since the opening of the second half, it's truly been the momentum has been on the side of Diriangén, although they haven't been able to put one in the net yet. They've had a couple of decent chances, but Esteli, as soon as Diriangén tries to see a little crack, Esteli quick to close it up.
And the question now, James, was that last couple minutes stretch, were those the best looks Diriangén will see, or is this going to be how the final 18 plus minutes are for Esteli trying to just hang on at this point to the 1-0 advantage?
Yeah, Esteli is probably in survival mode, if you will, right now, Ben. They just don't want to let anything close and definitely don't give Diriangén a clear shot.
Another ball sent towards goal, this time the captain Tellez. We saw him go off injured a couple minutes ago, but he is back on now. And you think about what this means in the league table. You have Esteli, who got off to such an amazing start, winning their first 5 matches, 2 points clear of Walter Ferretti at the top, trying to go to 6 wins and a draw in 7 matches and go to 19 points. A win would see them go 11 points above Diriangén, their rivals, with Esteli at the top of the table, whereas Diriangén, a loss tonight to go to 2-2-3 on the season would continue an incredibly frustrating lack of form to start the 2020 Apertura.
And then having to face Esteli again 4 days from now on Wednesday night. Although it will be on their home turf, it's still, they want to try to come out of here with at least a tie or definitely want to get a win. Otherwise, it's going to be a tough hill to climb, and then they got this Esteli team in 4 more days, right back at it.
Now you talk about constantly playing from behind. That's what Diriangén will have to do automatically, because it's the 2-legged League Cup quarterfinal. Second leg, and Diriangén trails the tie, of course, 1-0 after Wednesday's result. So they'll start from behind next week. In their last league match at Junior Managua, they were behind the whole way, down 1-0. But were able to somehow summon an equalizer in stoppage time to draw that match 1-1 and at least salvage a point. Would have been a stunning loss, and it would have also been a 3rd straight match without a goal for Diriangén. And had they not scored that equalizer, they'd be looking at 4 straight matches without a goal scored. So it just shows you the type of struggle they have had under Flavio da Silva. Maybe this is their opening now. Up a man. His cross blocked out by Acevedo, but he does concede a corner, and Bernardo Laurero will look to scamper toward the corner flag and get his attempt ready.
little over 16 minutes left in regulation here. Diriangén has got to make every chance count.
Marrero, a member of the Uruguayan U17 team in his youth days. It's a low ball here that's popped straight up, gives Rodrigo Romo plenty of time to come out and collect.
Excellent job there. I believe that was off the head of Josue Quijano. So excellent defensive position there, right into the gloves of Rodrigo Romo.
And now a beautiful outlet to Henry Garcia. Esteli down a man. This ball played through. Ayerdes nearly gets to it. But credit to charging Llorente, preventing a second goal that would have put this match to bed, essentially, even though Diriangén has that man advantage.
Well, that was an outstanding job there for Justo Llorente. He was charging out. He knew he was past the point of no return, and he had to commit and fully attempt to get that ball, and he did just that. Great job there in defense.
The drums have momentarily stopped. Even the kamikazes feeling the nerves as we close in on our final quarter hour. Their team, Esteli, up 1-0, but down a man, as we will get our second half cooling break. Maybe that's what they were doing, James. It was
I was going to say they were
they
were taking their pre-cooling break, huh? But they're back at it again, Ben. So we'll see here now. Esteli on top 1-0. Diriangén, obviously, once again in the familiar situation, playing from behind. Now they're going to have to pull the bootstraps up and see what they got left here in the last about 14 minutes or so after we get going with the cooling break.
You look at how often, at least since our coverage of Liga Primera started, James, during this pandemic, we saw Esteli and Diriangén in the Clausura regular season last year once. We saw them twice in the Clausura tournament semifinals. You saw them on Wednesday in the League Cup. All of those matches, it was 0-0, 0-0, 1-0, 1-0. They have been tight, close, grinded out physical matches, and I feel like this is really the first stretch of match of any of these recent El Clásico Nacionales where we have seen at least one side, if not both, really push up and down both ends of the pitch. It just seems like we've seen such a concerted physical effort to keep things kind of slow-paced, and that red card from Barrera has spawned some life into Diriangén that in the four matches, at least I've seen out of them, James. And people who follow Liga Primera might say the same thing based on the lack of goals scored, but the most energy and the most threatening they have looked offensively in recent weeks, at least, and maybe even recent months. You go back to last season and how they struggled to score down the stretch and how it ultimately cost them in that tie against Esteli in the semifinals.
Yeah, in this last 30 minutes of play here, since we got going with the second half, Diriangén has definitely shown a spark unlike we've seen in recent times. And but they know this is a rivalry game. They've got to do something right now and try to get something going offensively. And Esteli, you're just trying to survive and keep that 1-0 advantage going into the latter stages of the game here.
It is the final roll of the dice for Flavio da Silva as he puts on the 19-year-old Alexander Zuniga, just transferring over from Chinandega from last season. His sixth appearance of the year. He comes on for Tulio Lopez. Esteli does have two substitutions left. They already took out one attacker, Harold Medina, for a defender in Francisco Paz. So you can tell, James, that's the way Holder Flores is trying to line up his 10 that are out there.
A little prevent defensive sort on for Holder Flores right now, just trying to not let anything through. Don't give him a clear chance, and make sure that if they do get a shot on goal, that at least Rodrigo Romo has a clear sight on it.
Right now, Jarquin and Marrero, they're each on yellow cards. I should add Marel Alvarez for Diriangén, while on the Esteli side, Yon Mosquera currently on a yellow. So you would assume maybe Mosquera, one of the subs to go off, but he's picked up so many yellows in the past, James. He's pretty accustomed to dealing with that situation of being on a yellow, and Holder Flores has not seemed all that eager to take his 31-year-old veteran defenseman off the pitch.
Yeah, Mosquera seems to be able to tune out the yellow cards and not really let it affect his play. He's an aggressive player. He likes to go after the ball, and he does pick up a card here and there, but doesn't really let it affect him too much.
Bit of a heavy touch there from Macon Santana. Mentioned how Justo Lorente, he is really the only player, at least in the starting lineups tonight, who has played for the opponent. No Esteli players have been on the Cacique roster, at least the current players for the Train of the North. But Llorente, he spent time with Esteli, as has Macon Santana, although it was an extremely brief stint. 2018-19 only appeared in 4 games with 1 start for Esteli. He's been a bit of a journeyman, the Brazilian. Played part of last season, in fact, in Malta, the Maltese Premier League, before returning to Liga Primera and spending a second stint with Juventus.
Now, where is Malta located?
James, I expect better from you on the geography. That's a small. It's an archipelago.
Archipelago
off the coast of Italy.
Oh wow! Well, there you go. You answered my question.
I thought you would be. You're the resident weatherman when it comes to Nicaraguan barometric pressure. I thought you'd be all over your Mediterranean archipelagos, but I guess not. I'll give you a pass.
I thank you, sir. I thank you for that. I usually am a little bit better on that. I'll have to brush up on those. I got Monday off, so I'll take a little time.
Malta, not exactly La Liga or Premier League, but it's still technically European soccer.
Sure, definitely.
It was a big deal as we see Christian Gutierrez go down.
And go down hard did Gutierrez there.
Esteli, they made a big deal out of Juan Barrera, his year he spent in Austria, first Nicaraguan ever to play in Europe with SCR Altac in the 2015-16 season. It was a short spell, only played 2 matches. And here we'll get another look at Gutierrez on that follow-through. It's the Brazilian we were just talking about, Macon Santana.
Little shin-to-shin action. What that looked like right there. That's going to hurt for about a week.
So he played with Santa Lucia FC in the Maltese Premier League. So you learn something every day, James.
Indeed.
The archipelago.
Indeed. I love it. I'm impressed. What can I say?
Majority of Santana's career has been spent in Liga Primera, part of that 2015 Walter Ferretti title team, and now trying to lead Diriangén's side back. Down a goal, but up a man. Nice little move there by Tellez. Gets a cross in with his left foot, but headed out. And Esteli is able to get the clear as the speedster Aiertes gives chase. Played that bounce pretty well off the field turf, but Alvarez able to control things in the back, sprinting in his retreat defensively.
I didn't see a whole lot of Diriangén players on the other end of that last attempt doing a whole lot to help out the shooter there. So I don't know if they're just not a whole lot of motivation right now or what's going on. They got to get something.
Maybe searching for a second win. There was that 10-minute spell right after the Barrera second yellow in about the 65th minute where Diriangén looked incredibly threatening, trying to get the equalizer. And offside is called here. It forced Rodrigo Romo into making a couple nice saves.
Romo doing a great job in goal tonight for Esteli.
If there is a disadvantage for Diriangén since that red card, it's that Esteli, they had been, up until that point, aggressive, not afraid to keep things open end to end, and for an offense struggling like Diriangén, that can sometimes be your best shot getting through on a counter when things are open, but especially in these last few minutes now, Esteli, they have gotten really tight at the back. They're such a disciplined defensive unit. Have only conceded 4 times in their 6 league matches and posted 16 clean sheets, tied for the league lead last year. So they know how to batten up the hatches in that backside of their defense. And they have done it now once things settled down a little bit following Barrera's second yellow.
Well, they've been one of the top defensive teams in Liga Primera over the past few years, and I couldn't help but notice Hover Flores barking out commands to his goalie down there, Rodrigo Romo, making sure that he was continuing to communicate with that defense and make sure that everybody was in the right position.
And just a microcosm of the Cacique struggles tonight. Pretty routine pass right through the legs of Eric Tellez, the experienced captain and defender. And if you're Esteli, you look up, all of a sudden, only about 5.5 minutes left, plus stoppage time that they have to see this one out. So will there be another twist and turn in this El Clásico Nacional, 2 most historic and accomplished clubs in Nicaraguan history?
Time is ticking away for Diriangén. They need to get something close here, maybe get a shot on goal out of this possession right now.
And will Flavio de Silva's seat get even hotter? The head manager of Diriangén. This would be a second straight 1-0 loss in a 3-day span. Zuniga just came on, unable to keep possession though on the edge of the box. And there's the speed of Garcia.
Nice takeaway right there for Diriangén. If the seat's not warm right now for De Silva, or if it's not hot, it's at least warm.
Well, we're about to see another player go off. That's Mosquera. We brought that up, James. Should he stay on the pitch? Hover Flores trusts his 31-year-old, and Mosquera is now sent off with a second yellow. And for the final 5 minutes plus stoppage time, Esteli will be down to 9 men as they try to preserve a 1-0 margin.
Diriangén just 9 lives here tonight, Ben. They continue to somehow be able to stay alive as we take a look at Mosquera there sliding into the Diriangén player and picking up the red card. So now Diriangén, you talk about have to seize the day. They got to do something right now.
So at first it was Juan Barrera, his second yellow. Now Mosquera, and that was as clear-cut of a yellow as you'll see, just a late challenge through the back of his defender. And that's where Mosquera, he does ride that line very closely and not completely immune to being sent off at times. It's happened in the past, and it happens tonight. So now things really get tricky for the hosts as Laureiro sends in the free kick. Nothing comes of it, though, with the push in the box on Diriangén.
And Esteli once again just tightening the screws a little bit defensively and holding out Diriangén's chances.
Esteli does have 2 subs left still, and Hover Flores will now use them. It's Marlon Lopez to come on, and he will replace, looks like Brandon Ayertis, the man to come off in the 88th minute. Well, normally you only see teams go down to 9 men when you're playing FIFA. It's usually not something you see in real life, but it has somehow happened tonight, James. And Esteli finds themselves somehow, despite all of that, still up a 1-0 against their arch rival and in a position to remain top of the league if they can see out these final few minutes.
Well, you mentioned, I believe it was in the first half during tonight's broadcast, Ben, about this series seems to always have some sort of twists and turns, and it just continues late in the ballgame here.
I'd say, yeah, going down to 9 men, that constitutes a twist.
Yes.
A twist of the heart, certainly, for and of the gut, maybe, for Hover Flores and the home fans, as it's been high nervous energy ever since Barrera was sent off in the 65th minute. Mosquera follows him to the showers in the 85th. And here we are. We'll see how much stoppage time we get as well with those sendings off. But too far on that ball played in. That's been the story of the night offensively for Diriangén. A lot of crosses sent toward the box, but not much in the way of receptions and potential balls on goal.
You know, you would hope that Diriangén would have somebody right place, right time on one of those attempts there, but it just doesn't seem to happen tonight. And, you know, every once in a while it's not your night. Unfortunately, they've had a lot of those nights over recent times.
So in a few seconds, everybody's eyes will turn down to that fourth official, see how much stoppage time we get. Goals in stoppage time have been regularity throughout the Liga Primera season. Diriangén, they were part of that in their last league match, earning a 1-1 draw at Junior Managua last weekend.
Would it be fair to ask you what you think the over-under, Ben, would be on the stoppage time here? Being that you're now back in Las Vegas?
Yes, broadcasting remotely from, you gave away my location from Nevada, James in Arizona. I would say probably about 4 to 5 minutes, I would think. He had we had it's always a little bit longer with the cooling breaks. We had the red, so I would say 5 minutes.
Sounds good.
That's the time Diriangén will have, and we'll see momentarily the official stoppage time, but that's the time left for Diriangén to salvage something.
Oh, wow.
It is a 6-minute amount of stoppage time.
So Diriangén now with a little bit more life. Can they organize and get a chance?
Yeah, Esteli has one sub left to make. They could burn a little more time off the clock if they choose to go that route. Marlon Lopez, number 14 in red, right in the middle of your screen. He was the latest man to come on for Brandon Ayertis.
Lopez in his 6th year with the club.
It's the match kicking off our 7th match day in the 2020 Apertura in Liga Primera. It's a good way to start with the El Clásico Nacional between Diriangén and Real Esteli. We've seen a bit of everything. A penalty from Juan Barrera, 2 men sent off in the second half, both for Real Esteli, Barrera included. Now it's a mad scramble in stoppage time for Diriangén with a 2-man advantage, trying to find the equalizer.
The intensity has definitely picked up here in this time for Diriangén, especially.
Dos Santos draws a foul from Marlon Lopez. And it is Macon Santana from Bahia, Brazil. He and Dos Santos, the 2 Brazilians, along with Laureiro, those 3 compromise all the international players on the Diriangén roster. Here comes Santana, great ball. Looked like there was a deflection out in front, didn't make it all the way to Romo. But a couple of Cacique attacking players were in the area, just could not get the head to it, and cleared away by Esteli. 2 of the 6 minutes in stoppage time have been accounted for. And a poor giveaway in the back. Talk about miscommunication, James. We've seen it a couple times. You were mentioning it earlier, just relating to the lack of continuity and a poor job there, just gifting Esteli the ball, and now Garcia can bring some more time off the clock.
Yeah, the Cacique just seem to have a lot of trouble getting on the same page here tonight and mounting any sort of offensive attack.
And to make matters worse for the visitors, Garcia draws a foul, working against a double team. And by the time this ball is taken, likely will be inside 3 minutes to go in stoppage time.
When it rains, it pours if you're Diriangén, and that's exactly what's happening here tonight in Estadia Independencia.
Esteli will go ahead and burn a little more time off the clock, use its final sub with Luis Lopez on for Henry Garcia. Lopez got the start on Wednesday, but this is his first appearance in a league match since the opener. He started in a 2-1 win against Ocotao. 21-year-old from Managua now in. And just a really rough giveaway miscommunication from the keeper Llorente and his defensive teammate. And not because you give it away, but because Esteli can just do this. Kick the ball around, waste more time. Richard Rodriguez here into the box. Betancourt giving chase. And now finally, with just over 2 minutes left in stoppage time, Kevin Gonzalez comes up with it.
Yeah, Esteli really good at playing keep away, especially late in the ball game when they're up, and they just need to kind of kill that clock.
What can Loureiro do? 7 career goals against Esteli. Is there some magic in that boot? Here chips it forward, but the header is not close to being on target. And the frustrations continue to mount for Diriangén, who with a loss will drop to 2 wins, 2 draws, and 3 losses. Just 8 points from 7 matches to start their 2020 campaign.
Yeah, you can see the body language progressively deteriorate throughout the match here for Diriangén when they gave up that first goal to Primera. And then after those just senseless fouls, it's just started to go downhill, and it's continued that way throughout the match.
Had about a 12-minute stretch after the Barrera, the first red card, James. Really did feel like Diriangén were, at the very least, going to come extremely close to equalizing. They had some great sustained pressure, had a couple half chances on goal, but it's been more frustration than momentum. In the last 10 minutes since the second red card sent Yohan Mosquera out of the match. And now Esteli can drain more clock after Betancourt takes a knock.
And how about the view we got right here, Ben? We're literally on the field right now with these guys. The drum corps is back at it for the last 30 seconds.
And they know it's tough work trying to defend with only 9 players against 11. So Esteli tries to hang on. Final attack coming for Diriangén. Again, it's played forward, but that's not the ball. And you can really see the frustration now boiling over for the Cacique. That ball not particularly close to anybody, and it represents the final touch of the night. Eric Lozama blows his whistle, and despite going down to 9 men in the second half, Real Esteli survives in El Clásico Nacional, their second 1-0 win in a 3-day span against their arch-rival Diriangén, the Cacique, as they remain on top of Liga Primera after 7 match days. You see each team getting off 9 shots, 4 on target for Esteli, 3 for Diriangén. The foul totals you can see usually, James, those are representative of a traditional rivalry match with 26 between the 2 teams. Of course, the 2 red cards for Esteli. But they hang on. And your final thoughts tonight, James? For a 1-0 match, this is about as entertaining as you can see with multiple players sent off. But Esteli in the final mad scramble is able to hang on for the win.
Yeah, it was a great one. It's usually a great one whenever these 2 teams get together. 1-0 tonight in favor of Esteli. It ebbed, it flowed. There was a time where the Cacique seemed to ratchet it up a notch after that first half break. And it seemed like they were going to try to come in and get something going offensively, but the defense for Esteli just too much tonight, and they were able to weather the storm and get out of here with a victory.
So these 2 teams will meet again Wednesday in Biriamba, second leg of the League Cup quarterfinals. Esteli winning the first leg this past Wednesday, 1-0. They win tonight by the same score. Esteli remain top of the league as we say so long. For my partner James Poovey, I am Ben Wilson. Again, our final tonight, it's Real Esteli 1, Diriangén 0.
Holmer. Cristian, se me va a ir. ¿Me avisa? Ya. Holber, partido apretado. ¿Cuáles son tus impresiones luego del partido?
Sí, un partido muy difícil. Igual nosotros comenzamos el primer tiempo